Morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Wasn't enough of a break, I think. All right. So I promised that I would show you the stages of meditation painting that I have up on the wall. And I found a picture of it online, which makes it a lot easier than moving my camera over there. But here it is. It's a beautiful, beautiful painting of an interpretation of Trijang Rinpoche's stages of meditation. And you can see down here, here's the meditator, and here's all the stages, the elephant and the monkey and the rabbit up here, and going all the way up to the top here. When you finally reach Shamatha and Vipassana, which is more here. It's not as clear as it is in real life, but just give you a sense of this person. I'll also send the link. I'll send you all this. I'll send you the link of this artist so you can look at all of her work as well. So send it to you right now in the chat. There you go. So you can look at some of her work. It's stunning. It kind of reminds me of, because when people made these paintings of these tankas, right? And you have this picture of, oh, this is Vajrayogini or this is Yamantaka, and it's like, it's because somebody met them, right? Someone met them and then they painted, right? And I have this feeling that this artist, has met some of these beings, um, and has influenced the way that she paints, right? And it's oil painting. Like, she's phenomenal. I just want to go to Mongolia to meet her, actually. But you kind of get a sense that she's met some of these people, right? But then anyway, check her out. And whomever secretly sent me that painting for it. So I hope y'all had a good break. And let's get moving. So this class is less fire hosey than the first one. There's a lot less content in it. Um, so, but we're going a little bit deeper into some discussions of dependent origination and emptiness. And basically, what I want to remind you is that these are designed as review courses. These are not the main teachings. So after today, there's a month between this class and then our next class with me. And this whole program is designed to help you, or if you've already done them, help others finish the ACI courses. Like, to do all the homeworks and quizzes and review everything. And what I want to emphasize is that every single time you review this material, the idea is something new will pop out. Something new will strike you as important. Something new will be like, oh, I missed that first time, or the second time, or the 10th time, and then something else clicks and you go, oh, that's what they meant. And then what ends up happening is you think you understood it, and then the 11th time you go, oh, that's what they really meant. Now I get it. And then it kind of goes from there. You go deeper and deeper into it. So don't think the review is just like, it's a huge accomplishment. Please, like, it's a huge accomplishment to have them all completed. But think of it as just another layer of the onion. Like, here we go again. We're going to go deeper into it. Here we go again. We're going to see something new we didn't see before. Because what we're really doing, like if I were a sports announcer and I had to give you the highlights of Buddhism and, Sports Center in like 15 seconds, right? What would we say? Like what were the highlights? Like someone achieves Buddhahood. All right. Who's the first person I see? Kathy. Kathy achieves Buddhahood. Right? Everyone in paradise, they all start celebrating. And then the reporter like runs up to Kathy and is like, now we're going to find out what happened to Kathy. Kathy, tell us, how'd you do it? Right? What was your secret? How did you do it? Right? And hands the microphone over. Stadium's going wild. Everyone's excited, right? What did she do? Right? She did two things. She planted good seeds and she purified her bad seeds. Anything else, Kathy? Nope. There you go. I'm going off to my paradise. Everyone enjoy. And she walks away, mic drop, right? You know, she learned how to plant good seeds, but more importantly, she learned how to purify the seeds that were planted in misunderstanding. She learned how to stop the cycle. She learned how to stop the wheel of life. And that's the name of it. Like, I've always wondered, like, what does an Arya do when they're sitting around, like just having just sitting around with friends having coffee, right? Except this isn't coffee, this is fruit juice. First of all, they're annoyingly fabulous. Thank you, ACI, for giving me this cup. But like, how does an Arya think? And I've always kind of just sat there wondering, like, what do they think? Like, how do they think about their world? How do they think about what's going on? And I saw it happen once, well, many times. But I was kind of asking this question. I was like, how do they think? Like, what do they do? Right? What do they do on the path of habituation? Yes, they've seen emptiness directly. Great. But how do they habituate? And what's the habituation look like? And imagine sitting in a business meeting. You're negotiating a contract and you're trying to get the best deal. But what an Arya is doing is something very different. Like, so so they they're sitting there and they see the other person that they're negotiating with starting to get greedy. They're starting to get a little like, they're thinking they can get more, right? So what does the Arya do in that moment? Well, they start thinking about all the times that they've been greedy. They start purifying that seed immediately. They don't wait to go home to do the four powers. They do the four powers exactly in that moment because they're seeing something. They're seeing something greedy, right? And so that's how they're immediately purifying the world. They're and then typically from what I've seen is that the Arya will then just give more than the person ever wanted. Right? They're just going to be like, oh, you want this? I'll give you 10 times. I'll give you more than that. I mean, I've seen my teacher, someone complained, you know, they They're doing some work and then they were complaining about it and they were being difficult and slow, and then gave them more money. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? They're not even good workers. Like, you're wasting your money. And they just look at me like, you don't understand. Like, give them more money than they're asking for to do a shittier job. Right? To do worse. And then when you think like, so then it's kind of like you're always planting the best seeds. Like, it's not any other way. And so that's how I kind of, have learned is that the name of the game is Kathy gets enlightened. What'd you do? Planted good seeds, everybody. And I purified all living beings. That's what I do. I purify all living beings. Well, how do you purify all living beings? Well, when I see something going on that I don't like, immediately remove that seed. I four powers it. I Tonglen it. Immediately I get rid of it. And I stop doing that myself because I have wisdom and I'm going to do this differently. Then takes a sip and watches how things change. Right. And that's what we're doing. And when you move into a diamond way practice, that's what you're constantly up to. And you don't tell anyone about it. You know, you just quietly doing your practice. I've made weird things happen because, I just sat there and was like, well, that's a stupid seed, Tim. Let's just get rid of that. And then you take care of that person. Why? Because you're forcing them to be that way. Your karma is forcing them to behave the way that you're perceiving them behave. Right. So you're going to treat the person who's being a jerk to you. Right. How are you going to treat them? You're forcing them to be the jerk. Like, one of my friends were kind of partnering, and they had a recent moment with someone they're close with, and they were expecting a terrible reaction. And all of a sudden they were like, the people they were with were behaving completely opposite, 100% opposite, because they purified that seed. All they had to do was keep purifying it. And then all of a sudden the people become different people. And you can see it. Like, I haven't, you know, I haven't done anything different with my parents. Why they, God, I hope they're not here. Da, da, da. Let's see here. That'd be funny if they were. They're not, unless they're hiding. Um, like, they're like changing before my eyes, and I'm not talking to them. I'm not like, oh mom, I really wish you would just, tell me you love me more. Like, she, like, on the phone yesterday, she was like, I love you, I love you. I'm like, oh, I love you too. Like, it was like desperately telling me. I'm like, oh my God, this is so weird. Right. I didn't do anything different. Or did I? Right. You know what I started doing? I started telling people around me that I cared about them. That's all. I started telling people what the nice things that I thought about them. Again, that's all. Because I didn't like that I wasn't having a close relationship with my parents. Right. You see, so stop doing the thing you don't like and start doing the thing you want. Just think about Kathy. That's a t-shirt. Just think about Kathy, right? How did Kathy get enlightened? When she was hanging out in that, in the stadium, everyone's cheering for her. How'd you win the pod race, Kathy? Oh, I won it by planting good seeds and purifying bad ones. And then she walks away, right? Glory is hers in the highest, right? Paradise body. And then she runs off and emanates and tries to teach us something. Thanks, Kathy. So, so that's what you're looking to do. And then everything else is built around that, right? All the techniques, all the secret techniques you learn are just methods. They're just methods. And they get deeper and deeper as you get more and more understanding of, I should have offered $100, understanding of the three principal paths. Right? They're just deeper, more subtle methods. That's all. So it doesn't have to, and it also doesn't have to be difficult. I mean, our seeds, don't add more difficulty. Don't add more fire to a burning building. Like, that's ridiculous. I'm just talking to myself, by the way. All right, here we go. Class 2. Let's see, where are we starting? So class 2 of the review is we're going to be focusing on, how do I summarize this? We're mainly going to be focusing on bodhicitta and emptiness in this class. All the things you need to know about bodhicitta and emptiness. Get out your notebooks. Here we go. The wish for total enlightenment, bodhicitta. Tracy, for $0 in Tibetan, give me the definition of bodhicitta.
I'm glad it's $0.
Me too, because I know you can do it.
Oh, I don't think I remember. Blank.
Semke.
Semke.
All right, someone help. Semke.
Yep.
Okay, let's slow it down. Semke Pani.
Semke Pani.
Shendun Cheer.
Shendun Cheer.
Semke Pani, right? Shendun Cheer.
Thank you.
Well, we got one more line. Yangdak Sokpe.
Yangdak Sope.
Chanchubdu.
Chamchutdu.
There we go. The wish de for total enlightenment, Chanchub. Yandak Sokpe Chanchub. Shendun Cheer for the benefit of others. Right? Semkepa. Semkepa, the mind of a bodhisattva. Okay. So the wish to reach total enlightenment, like it's such a big word and it's such a big definition, and it kind of, to me, feels a little overwhelming at times, where it's like, I'm going to do this for all living beings, all of them. Okay. How am I going to take care of all living beings? Like, this is ridiculous, right? That's a lot of living beings. Right? Like, I can barely take care of myself. How am I going to take care of all of them? Right? And the idea is really, you start with the ones that you can, that are close to you, right? All the ones I'm going to invite over for my wild parties here in Rimrock, right? We're going to have a wild party to enlightenment is what we're going to do, right? The 100 people that live in Rimrock, it's more than 100, but like, you know, it's like deal with what's around you, right? Who are you helping close to you? That's the most important part. Who's close? That's all. Like you don't have to make these extravagantly huge gestures to, you know, to plant good seeds. Like you don't have to go out and like kill yourself serving others and then not take care of, the vessel that is serving others. Like it's just small acts day in and day out. And who are you helping, right? Like, and how are you helping? What are you doing like for those others? What's in your mind when you're doing them? Nicole, ask that question again at the end. Don't let me forget. Um, it's really a motivation change. It's a mindset shift. When you shift how you think about your activities, the things that you do with your mind and the things you do with your speech and the things you do with your body, right? When you think about them differently, then there's this shift of the power of the seeds that are being planted. We don't have to be crazy, you know, and act like, obsessively OCDing about taking care of other people in a way that hurts us. But we start with who's close. You start with the people around us. We start with the people that are close to us. We don't have to, you can shift your entire pranic body by serving one person perfectly. Okay. So kind of keep that in mind. It doesn't mean we don't serve other people, but there's a there's something wrong with the way we think about ourselves and others. But that wish that if you could take care of all beings, you would be running to enlightenment as fast as you could. Right. And it's kind of like this, like you're making a wish, right? You're wishing that you can do it. Can you do it now? No. Will you be able to do it soon? Yes. Can you see the transformations slowly? Yes. So the idea of bodhicitta has two parts. Like bodhi means enlightenment or Buddhahood, and chitta means mind. But it doesn't mean like the mind of a Buddha. It doesn't mean like Buddha mind. Right. It doesn't mean like, you know, the mind is already enlightened and we just have to see it that way. It's not quite like that. But what it means is, as I said, it's a wish. It's the wish, the desire. And that shifts how you are towards people, like how you take care of other people, how you spend time with them, how you show up, why you show up. Like your why becomes very, very different. So I want to kind of, and part of what I want to say here, because I was thinking about it last night, is a lot of people think that they're not doing enough. I think a lot of people have this belief that they're not good enough to become enlightened. And so they do, um, they somehow beat themselves up because they're not serving well enough, or they're not serving hard enough, or they're not doing enough for somebody else, or they're somehow less than. And that's and it really, it bugs me. Like, it gets under my skin a little bit, because it's not, that's just an affliction, right? That's self-doubt. That's not what the Buddha meant. That's not what we mean by serving all people. Now, notice I didn't say don't go help people. That's not what I said, right? That's not what I said at all. But I think, because we all have different capacities, and we all have different, like, the bodies that we were given, forced upon us by our past karma. Everyone's going to have a different capacity, and that capacity is going to change at different times. You know, get older and you just don't have the same energy you had. You know, those of us that are getting older, we know the body just doesn't quite do what it used to do. Right. Or if you've ever gotten sick and you had all this capacity and then all of a sudden you don't, like, does that make you less of a bodhisattva? Right. And that's all, that's silly thinking, because your body started and your body will end. So we shouldn't think that way, and we shouldn't compare ourselves to everybody else either. Yes, exactly, Kathy. Studying is also helping others, because you're shifting how you think. The narrative that's been running in your mind for, just consider this life. That's, study time is like, the narrative running in your head is probably something like the narrative that was running in your parents' head when you were growing up. That's why, you know, that's why it's so annoying to be like, when someone says you're acting just like your mother. Well, yeah, you are, because the narrative running in your head is just the same thing as, the tone the tone and the way that your parents talked with you formed habits in your mind. And if we take the longer view of past lives, and the tendency to see things in the wrong way, that's been running around forever. So we're trying to put a new narrative into it. Like, we're trying, so spending time in class is like being with a parent, right? It's like being with someone who can shift your mindset, but you have to spend the time shifting your mindset. And this is something I didn't say in the last class, is that you want to be really careful with who you choose to be, who has access to your spiritual real estate. Who has access to, who do you allow help you change? Right? You can't just allow anyone in there. Right? And so you have to be careful with that, and you need to check people out, and don't do just what everybody else is doing. I mean, we just need to look at some leaders of some countries and wonder why people follow them, right? And be like, what? It doesn't make any sense, right? And like, when you look at it from a point of view of kindness and caring for others, you're like, this doesn't, why is everyone thinking this is the right thing to do? And just because everyone else is jumping off the bridge, you're going to jump off too. So it's you have to be this whole path is actually you determining what is the best thing to do for you. Like at the end of the day, you have to make the determinations yourself. No one is going to tell you what to do. Even if you ask your teacher what to do, they typically won't tell you what to do, which is annoying. I find it annoying. They don't tell me what to do. And then I'm wondering, am I doing the right thing or not the right thing? And they're trying to teach you how to evaluate if you're doing the right thing or not. Like that's it, right? That's the what's going on here? Did I just lose myself? Okay, cool. Thank you. Um, you have to make the choice yourself. That's, I mean, at the end of the day, that's where it's coming from because you know what seeds are your seeds, which are only your seeds. Like there's no other way around it. And so, like when we talk about Buddhist morality, what's the definition of it? If you do something that creates a good result for you, it was a good seed. If you do something that creates a bad result for you, it's a bad seed. So that ends up being a very, you know, difficult thing to navigate. And then you have to be careful that did the good thing you get come from what you thought it came from? And you got to watch how much you trick yourself to think that did I get that good thing? Did that good thing come from the thing that I just did? Right? Am I appropriately assessing the cause and effect of this? You know, and no one can really tell you that except a Buddha. But even if a Buddha came along and told you, you probably wouldn't believe them anyway. Because they'd know, because the thing is, the thing that could be ripening right now may have nothing to do with anything you did in this life. And so that's the irritating part of it. Irritating in the sense that when you don't have access to that information directly, you have to you have to rely on your logic. You have to rely on how you think about how you're thinking about it. You know, and your realizations, as Terry said exactly, is you're the one who moves up on the path. And no matter what anyone else tells you. So how do you get that wish for enlightenment? Like how do we get through all of those things? What are the steps to that? And this is called the 7 steps to gaining the wish for enlightenment. The first one is called Marche, right? And recognize that all living beings have been your mother. And this comes through a lot of logic and a lot of thinking and a lot of like who if if it's true that there's past and future lives, if there's and then you go to the place of when was the beginning and you can't find a beginning, then all of us have been every iteration to each other. Each and every one of us has been a mother, a father, a lover, an enemy, right? We've been everything to each other. And so the first step to develop bodhicitta is to understand that people have been all of those things, including your mother. So what happens here is that you have to use a kind of equanimity, right? Because if everybody is your mother and you exclude some people or bring some people close and some people farther away, you know, then you're not seeing everyone in the same way, right? So excluding someone, it doesn't work in bodhicitta. Like in this path, it doesn't work. I remember we had a very difficult person in the organization and had done some pretty hurtful things to some people. And some people were really hurt by it, and we're trying to exclude this person. And yes, we had to talk to the person and just, talk about their behavior and everything. But, someone was really upset and I looked at them and I said, do you think that that person won't be there when you get enlightened? Like, do you think that that person, like, that person is not worthy of it? Like, leave that one person behind just because they did something bad? Have you ever done something bad? Right? Like, have you ever done something that you didn't, are not so proud of? It's like, oh, but I didn't do that bad thing. I'm not that person. Okay. Maybe not right now. You see. So we don't leave anybody behind. It doesn't mean that what's the word? It doesn't mean that we approve of bad behavior, right? Of course we don't. Like, but that doesn't mean you give up on people just because they've done something hurtful. So there's a bit of a difference. Okay. That's the first step, seeing everyone as your mother and developing equanimity. The next one is called Trinchen. And then you need to remember the kindness that they gave to you when they were your mother. And the greatest kindness they can give to you is they gave birth to you. Right? That's what this picture means. Like, they gave birth to you, right? They risked their life so you could have life. We live in a time where it's not as dangerous to get pregnant and to have a child. you know, Death in childbirth is significantly reduced. But before modern advances in medicine, it was, it was quite risky to have a child, and it still is. Without modern medicine, a lot more people would die in childbirth. A lot more children would die. One of my friends from high school died during childbirth. She had a inherited disease where the walls of her arteries were thinned out or something. And then during childbirth, her femoral artery, the artery in her leg, burst. but nobody knew, right? And then she just died, you know, 5 minutes after the baby was born. So it is possible, right? And your mother risked her life and still did just to give you life. So the first one leads to the second one. So like if you see that everyone was your mother, then you see that everyone was also kind to you, right? And you won't think about the kindness that they did for you, because a mother just doesn't give you birth, but they take care of you. All of you were taken care of by somebody. Someone raised you. Maybe your biological mother didn't raise you, but somebody raised you. Like everybody here looks pretty adult, at least in size and age. you know, you all made it this far. You're all living, right? You're still alive. Someone kept you alive, because you can't keep yourself alive when you're born. One of my friends found a kitten on the side of the street. The mother had abandoned it, and they tried to keep the kitten alive, and they were able to keep it alive for 4 days, right? But 4 days more than it had originally. But if they had left the kitten there, it would have died instantly, like 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? It was screaming, like, and if it didn't die of hunger, any other animal would have come along and ate it. You see? And so your mother, whomever mothered you and made you an adult, took care of you. And that kindness is extraordinary. The amount of, anyone who's a mother, Claudia, right? She knows how much time that she has to put in with her son, right? Octavian, right? You know how much extra time, it's not your life anymore. You're taking care of them, and children don't realize that until much later. And usually they realize it when they have their own children, because it's not your life anymore. You're taking care of someone else's life. Um, and that's an incredible kindness to repay. And you have to think about that. You have to remember that. You know, so do I treat everyone like my mother? Yes. Maybe the first person to take care of is your own mother. You know, like thank the person who risked their life for you, and then gave up their life for you. I mean, maybe they were a teacher of yours. Next, then you need to repay that kindness, right? Now that you've recognized that they have been kind, all living beings have been, not just in this lifetime, but many lifetimes. They've all been kind to you. Then you go back and you say, I'm going to take care of them. I'll repay that kindness. There's um, my old lady who lives in town. Her name's Benny. I drive her, you know, I drive her to the cafe every once in a while. We have breakfast together, right? And she's, I think, 90, almost 90. Very, very sweet lady. She has beautiful stories to tell. And you know, I think about her this way, like, who was she when she was young? Gibson and Emily have met her, right? Who was she when she was young? Like, how much energy did she have? How much effort did she put into things, right? She's just not this old lady who can barely walk anymore. Like we will all be that person someday. I hope I have the karma that someone will take me places when I'm 90 and can barely walk. Or maybe things will change and, I'll start getting younger, or, you know, technology will change and we'll all live to 150. Who knows? Right. We're getting close, by the way, to that kind of technology. But you give back, like take care of them, like take care of your mothers, all of them. And the more you listen to this teaching, the more powerful it gets. Like, and it's like, and thinking about like the people you don't like used to be your mother. Like that's the most annoying thing. Like I have to like you. I have to, no, you don't have to like them, but they were your mother. So you still should be kind. Okay. And then the other day I was super jealous because someone else stole my old lady and brought her to the cafe. It's like, oh man, like everyone's fighting, you know, for the good karma of taking care of the old lady. I was jealous for 2 minutes, right? It's like, I want those seeds. Instead of being happy that someone else was planting good seeds, you can get 10% by rejoicing in others. Maybe I should have been a little bit nicer and been like, well, maybe I should have called her before I went to the cafe. So, right. So she was sitting at home by herself, just waiting for someone to call, and Tim left her there. Tim left her at home by herself, and someone else went and got her. Right. So who's the bodhisattva now? Or maybe I was letting someone else. It doesn't matter. But repay their kindness. Give back. What's next? So once you've decided to repay that kindness, you know, then it's this feeling of loving those people like you're their mother, right? So it kind of flips around a little bit, right? Like the way that a mother cares for a child is how you should be caring for others. You want to give her everything, every good thing, right? Same intensity. Like as a parent, you just give your child life, give them life. Help Banny get to the cafe so she can have breakfast, so she can hang out with other people, so she's not sitting at home by herself, right? Her husband has passed. Her children, she actually doesn't have any children, but her family lives in other places. Like her sisters, half her sisters are dead already. The other ones are also by themselves in nursing homes. You see, right? How does that feel? Right? How does it feel when Tim doesn't call her to go to the cafe? Right? So, you wouldn't leave your kid at home. I mean, some parents do, but you wouldn't leave your kid at home unattended. You would make sure they were okay first. So how often do we not make sure other people are okay? And I'm not saying don't get all neurotic about it, you know, but eventually you attend to all people. So that idea of loving them back like they were like with the same intensity. And then the next thing that that comes out is that you feel Ningje Chempa. It's Jemba is the great compassion for all living beings. You want them to be free of their suffering, right? That intense love for them then becomes this desire that you don't want them to suffer anymore. You can't, like, it becomes, and sometimes it becomes unbearable. And then the next major thing that comes out is the laksam namdak, the personal responsibility. That even if no one else does it, I will do it. I will, without being discouraged, I will continue on. Right? I will keep helping. Even if nobody gets Banny, I will do it. She has a network of people helping her every day. Like, because, that's the thing about Rimrock is there's a very weird town where people take care of each other. Right. And that's what's beautiful, right? It's you take that personal responsibility even if nobody helps you. And this is kind of this is how it goes down. Like, as you go along, there may be times when nobody helps you, and that's just a seed. That's just a seed you have. I started when I got hired at ACI, it was just me. It was Tim and Tim. We're on number 6. you know, didn't have enough money, barely could make anything work. We had these events. I would get some volunteers from time to time, but everything was just Tim, and then I got super jealous that other people had help and no one was helping me. And I was like, well, this is just a seed, right? It's just a seed. And then it changed, right? And now I have too much help, right? And that's great. But there's still this personal responsibility that happens. Like, I'm going to do it whether no one does it or not. And so if no one cares about growing ACI, I will still do it. I'm still going to do that. And I did. Right. And now people do care. Right. Look, there's 323 people who care, and I think that's, and if it keeps growing at this speed, you know, you can imagine how fast it can. Each and every one of you, when you get there and have your own students, whether you have 5 students or 300 students, it doesn't matter, right? Just do the math, and all of a sudden, how many more people are thinking this way? And the thought is simple. To get what you want, you have to give it to other people first. That's it. So, what would a world be like if more people thought that way? If more people walked around being like, you know, these people are my mothers. I need to treat them with kindness. I need to give back the kindness. And I'm going to do that. Really? So it doesn't take that long to recognize what comes out as number 7, right? Which is the semke, the bodhi mind, bodhicitta. Like, that's what comes out, because then it begins to grow towards all living beings. So now, now we're going to go on a little trip for the next half hour about emptiness and the relationship of bodhicitta and seeing things as coming from how you treated others in the past, seeing things as There's nothing that's not coming from how you treated others in the past. And who are you taking care of? What are you taking care of? Like, when you say you're taking care of all living beings, what are you taking care of? Okay. And so we have this expression, kunsum demba, which means deceptive reality, fake reality, the thing that you think is there, that's there by itself from its own side, the thing that tricks you, mainly meaning all normal things around you that you don't think are coming from you, even if you intellectually think they're coming from you, you don't perceive that they're coming from you. Okay. And that's Kunson Demba. That's the deceptive reality. That is the thing that fools your mind. And so, what are you taking care of? What are you taking care of when you've developed bodhicitta and you're taking care of those living beings? You're repaying all your mothers for their kindness. You know, what are you really doing? Okay. What are you really doing? You're taking care of the things that are popping out in your world because of the way that you treated others in the past. Right. And you have to be very careful when you say this is a very dangerous teaching, because it's very easy to then say, well, nothing exists. It's very easy to say, well, nothing matters at this point. It's all coming from me anyway. Right. Well, if I'm taking care of deceptive reality, the thing that I thought was there that's not there on its own without my karmic seeds, then it's so damn lonely in here. It's so lonely. Right? I'm so lonely because all of you people here in Zoom are actually not even in my house, right? But it feels like it. It's going to be my theme for this course. If most of you watch my life, you'd probably be bored. There'd be no tabloids. You'd just be bored watching it. It's not that exciting. Most of it is me sitting here studying and reading and translating and petting the cats and a little bit of sci-fi, on the TV, right? And then Peachtree Cafe. I mean, that's my life. If you want to write a tabloid about it, great. So, but it's not that way. It's not lonely in here. Your world is just not lonely. Like, yes, the people that are in your world are coming from you. Yes. Yes, Alina, the cats will come over and visit during class. They're taking their post breakfast nap. The sun just came up. They're sitting outside, sitting there, sunning themselves. You know, but it's not just that because they're coming from you that they're not there or that you're just the only one in the world. It's not like that. But because they're coming from you, like that's why you have to take care of it. You're forced to see the things that you see. You know, you're forcing those things to come out. Like you're not you, the karma is forcing it out. So in that way, if you study the logic of it and meditate on it for a long time, you will come to the place to realize that you have to take care of those things. Like you have to take care of your projections. You have to take care of the things that you see. Like there's no other choice. But you have to come to that yourself. Like you have to come to that understanding yourself. And then that motivates you to say, okay, well, why do I see this? I see it this way. Why? Because of some past karma. What did I do? I don't care. Just stop doing it. Like, and go take care of that person. Go help them. Yeah, but they don't want to be helped, Tim. They're my enemy. They write me nasty emails. Okay. Well, maybe you need to let it simmer down for a little while. Maybe you need to stop writing nasty emails to people. Well, no, I don't write mean emails. Well, given infinite lifetimes, you did. Dear Charlie, as per my last email where I explained to you what you were supposed to do, you didn't do it and you're being a jerk. Like, like in English, as per my last email means you didn't fucking read what I said before, so I'm going to tell you again. So don't say as per my last email because everyone knows what it actually means. Right? Have a little bit more patience. Dear Charlie, can we meet about the coming deadline? I'm getting worried. Okay, that's what you really mean. Yeah, maybe Charlie's not doing his work. But you see, like, how do you treat your mental afflictions? Right? Charlie is the source of your mental affliction, right? Hunzon Demba. It tricked you. You think that Charlie is your enemy. As per my last email that you didn't read, jerk, I will explain to you once again what you should be doing, jerk. Right? Who is creating more Charlies? You are, idiot. Right? You're creating more people, right? You're creating more people that are doing that. In the future, you will have more Charlies, or you'll have someone that when you don't do something you're supposed to do, will be like, they won't be as polite to say, as per my last email. They will call you and yell at you and tell you what they really think because karma grows. You see. And so that's the cycle. It just keeps going. So stop it. Like, just stop it. And you know what is the hardest thing to do? Stop it. Because Charlie pissed you off. Because Charlie didn't do what he said he was supposed to do. And Francisco's like, Dear Charlie, as per my last email, Tim told me not to say that. But Charlie's such an asshole. And then you start battling. You know that you're not supposed to do that. You know in the back of your mind that you're planting more Charlies. But your affliction becomes so strong that the affliction feels right. And Charlie deserves, as we've previously discussed, right? Deserves the treatment that you're giving him. Like that's how it feels. That person deserves your anger. They deserve to be told that they're being an idiot. they're wrong and you're right, and they need to understand why you're right and they're wrong. Kunzon Demba. That that's the that's how it feels. And you're going to lose the battle, I'm sorry, from time to time. You know what the best thing to do is? Take the email, go to ChatGTP and say, "Hey buddy, I need this to sound nicer." And then ChatGTP will make it a little bit nicer for you and will point out all the subtle things that you did in that email that were difficult, right? Or my favorite thing to do is I write email drafts. And I just stay in the drafts. And I hope to God I don't push send, right? Look, if you're writing an email and it takes you more than 2 minutes to write down your ideas, it's because you're afflicted, right? If it takes you long and you're trying to craft the most perfect thing, is because you're upset, because Kunzon Demba, because the deceptive reality is yelling at you, being like, I'm here from my own side. I'm here from my own side, right? Oh, by the way, when you use ChatGPT to be more polite, everyone knows you use ChatGPT because it sounds fake. You have to rewrite it. You see? So, like, when someone sends me a ChatGPT email, I'm like, oh, you're upset because it's fake nice. And then I'm like, oh, they're mad. And then I get into the whole thing. They were just trying to be nice, but they were really mad. Where's that even coming from? Watch your afflictions, even use Dharma to make it affliction. You will weaponize emptiness. Watch. Just watch yourself. So the opposite side of Kunzon Demba, of course, is Dundam Demba. Oops. And this is ultimate reality. This is the emptiness of all things. There's nothing there that is not coming from your seeds. There's nothing which is not just a projection forced upon you by your past karma, including how you feel about Charlie. I don't think we have a Charlie here. That's why I chose the name. So the ultimate side of that reality is Kunzon Demba is tricking you. The other side of it goes, well, all of it's coming from seeds. All of it's being forced upon you. What is, for $100, another definition of ultimate reality? I've set you up for this.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Tina got it.
Yeah.
First.
Oh, they were just writing in the chat.
Yeah, someone didn't say it out loud fast enough. Okay. The direct perception of emptiness. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I messed up the question. Damn it. I messed up the question. Never mind. Tina, you still get $100, but I messed up the question. Okay. But that's kind of what I meant. But what is the ultimate form of bodhicitta? That was the question. That's what I wanted to say. Right. Deceptive form of bodhicitta is all the people you're helping in normal reality. Ultimate bodhicitta is a code word for direct perception of emptiness. Okay. The ultimate form of bodhicitta, the highest form of your bodhicitta. Semke pani shendunchir yandak sokpe chanchib de. The highest form of that wish for total enlightenment for the sake of all beings is the direct perception of emptiness. Okay. And you have to think about this for a while. The normal form of bodhicitta is Kunzon Demba. It's focused on living beings. Is focused on all the normal things out there, the ones you have to take care of. The ultimate form of it is seeing emptiness directly, in the direct perception of emptiness. Okay. So you have to think about this, and you have to think about what that actually means. All right. And how those things are related to each other. Okay. Yeah, so Tina, send me your PayPal. You got the right answer to the wrong question. You got the right answer to the question I asked, but it wasn't, I gave you the wrong question, which was the same answer to the other question. So that's something like that. So we need to think about how it is that we're taking care of the things that we're projecting. And then we have to think about the things that are ultimate behind all of it. The things that are ultimate, like what is ultimate bodhicitta? What is the direct perception of emptiness? And how does that relate to all the things that you see? Okay. And then how does that relate to your motivation to take care of all of them, to take care of your projections? How do you take care of Charlie? As per my previous email, I'm trying to remember that you're coming from me. How about that one? Dear Charlie, I know you're coming from me, but you're acting like a jerk. How about that one? I like that one. I hear people say that often, but I know it's coming from me, but blah, 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 blah. Yes. Good job. Okay. But you have to, it's something to continue to integrate. And if you know it's coming from you, how do you treat it? That's the main point. That's a great part. Vlad had a great line. Like, dear Charlie, I know you're coming from me, but I'm also a jerk. So this isn't personal. That's a great line. Um, so if you can meditate on the relationship with all of that. Ooh, I like that. I'm sorry, Charlie. I can't stop seeing you as a jerk. You know, that's nice. I can get behind that one. Maybe. But like your language starts changing. Your language starts changing and how you navigate difficult situations. Like I'm having a difficult time with this because I feel like I'm feeling some anger. Like I'm getting frustrated by this situation and I want to work with you, Charlie. Like, I had someone I was working with for 3 or 4 years who constantly criticized me. And I just sat down with them and I was like, I closed the computer during a meeting and I said, look, I'm having difficulty here because I don't understand why. I don't understand why you're criticizing me. And they were like, I'm not criticizing you. And I said, yes, every single time I say something, your response is a criticism. I don't even feel like you heard my thought. Like I don't feel acknowledged, and I want and I said you're a creative, amazing person, and I want to be able to work with you. And everyone seems to like you except me. and then they said, oh, and they're from an unnamed country in Latin America. I'm not going to tell you which one. And they said, oh, you don't, oh, no, 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 you don't understand. I already respect you so much that I don't want to waste time saying nice things. I just want to work the ideas out. I already love you. And now I'm going to fight. Now I'm going to now we're going to work these things out. And then I was like, then I understood. I was like, oh, that's, I've lived in Latin America. Like, oh, I get it. Like, once you're a family, then you're always family. Right. And we move beyond the formality. And then we had a nice conversation. I said, well, look, I'm not Latino. And I said, I need something just a little bit different. Right. I said, you know, and not that all Latinos are this way, but I like in this relationship, I said, I just need to be acknowledged. I said, I just need to know that you heard what I had to say. And then we can battle it out. And then we can fight and, and it changed our entire relationship because this person then understood what I needed, but then I also understood them. So what I perceived, this is what I talked with my friend yesterday, like what I was perceiving was coming from me. And then I changed the seed. Right. And then now we work well together completely. And they don't acknowledge what I say first. And they didn't change. I just don't react to it anymore. You see. So how do you deal with your projections, Charlie? Right. So that's I'm done with Charlie. Okay. So so karma and emptiness are completely intertwined. And so when you understand that everything has emptiness, you actually go to a place of that you're forced to be moral and ethical. There's no other way. Like your logic of it goes, I'm forced to be kind to this situation. There's no other way. Right. So you can come at all of this through the 7 steps of bodhicitta, right? Remembering everyone is your mother and doing that process. Or you can come at it from a different logic. Do both. But come at it from a different logic of, oh, this is coming from me. Right? I'm forced to see this way. So I have to be kind. Now, if you mix both of them together, that's even better. Ready, Anastasia? Where are you? Which screen number are you on here? I can't see you. I don't see where you are. Anyway, Anastasia wrote, forced to be kind. I have a little thing here I'm going to show everyone because we need a little break. Okay. I got something cool for my birthday. Ready? It's a little Star Wars thing, a little Star Wars box. Ready? Hopefully you can hear it. Hold on. Oh no. Come on. There we are. Okay, sorry. It plays some music. Can you hear it? The sound for musicians is on. That's weird. Let me do a different one. Let's try this one. There we are. Can you hear it now? Right? You're forced to do it, right? And then the inside of the box says, you've been forced to do it, okay? I forced you to listen to my music. right? And so, like, if you understand that you're being forced to experience even this little music box, right? You know, may the force be with you. That's what it really means. You're being forced to experience your life the way you're experiencing it by past karma. And you could have been a great person in this life and it's still coming out that way. Okay. Now here we go. It's fire hose time. We have 10 minutes left. Okay. Where is my. So there are three ways to understand dependent origination. There's three ways to understand Kunzon Demba. Okay. It's three ways to understand how your world is being made your world, how those two things work together, Kunzo Demba and Dundam Demba. How, in Buddhism, there's different levels of understanding. And we don't have time to go through all of that, like in terms of like all the logic of it. You can go back and watch the classes, or you can do it in your review groups. The first understanding is the functionalist group, which essentially means that all changing things depend on causes and conditions. Okay. Everything goes from a seed to a tree. Things are interdependent. Things arise in your world due to causes and conditions. Okay. And this is the basis of the three classic schools of Buddhism. The Abhidharma school, the Sutra school, and then mainly the mind only. Okay. So the first understanding of how things become things is cause and conditions. You all know this. 4 steps. Do this, get that. Right? Plant a seed, get a tree. Right? Very, very simple. And this is what we focus on a lot. However, in the functionalist group, they do not really consider how unchanging things become things, like empty space or emptiness or things like that. Like, because unchanging things are uncaused, and there are unchanging things in the world. So the key to understand this, so just take the notes and then meditate on it. The functionalist group focuses on the world becoming the world through causes and conditions, and tends to ignore things that don't come about in causes and conditions, like empty space or emptiness itself. Unchanging things, they don't deal with it, mainly. So then comes along the independent group of the middle way, the lower middle way. And then they say, oh, well, look, we have to consider, in order to consider all of reality, we have to consider changing and unchanging things. Right? And so where the lower schools say, well, things depend on causes and conditions, the lower middle way says, well, they depend upon their parts. Okay, so like if you look at this joystick here in this picture, like you need to have the parts to have the whole. Okay, and this will explain both changing and unchanging things, because unchanging things have parts as well, mainly. Okay, so the higher understanding of this is that things depend upon their parts. And then the highest understanding in the consequence group, the upper middle way, is that things are dependent solely on a result of you projecting it onto a basis of projection. What does that mean? There's some raw data out there that you're perceiving, that you're putting, that your karma is then creating as reality. But that raw data also has parts as well. There's no part, in this case, the lower middle way will say there are parts out there, independent. Okay. They're independent of your karma, your projection. And in the highest school, it says, well, actually, no. You are, even the parts themselves are dependent upon other projections as well. You can't find the part. If you go looking for the part, you're not going to be able to find it. And that's the highest meaning of the consequence school, of the highest middle way. And so then we have this word that just means, dak, which can mean me, but it also can mean just the self, the thing. Like, it does exist, but it doesn't exist from its own side. And so when we use this philosophical term, dak, self, we're just referring to something that we think that exists from its own side, but does not. Like the selfness, the beingness of the pen, or the beingness of Tim, or the beingness of Jason. There is no self. When we hear the word no self, it means there's no self that doesn't exist. There's no self that exists from its own side, through some nature of its own, independent from my projections forced upon me by my past karma, which you've heard a bazillion times. And you're hearing it again. Okay. Okay. There you go. We just finished class 1 and class 2. Got through all the material. All right. It's a lot. Remember that there were 10 full classes on all this material. Okay. And so we just blew through it very quickly. These are the highlights, the important things to remember, although all of it's important. So what are we doing? How are we doing this? What's the what are we doing here? So the goal here, as we said, is this is a 15-month course. Let's all make it. Okay. And each month we're going to be reviewing one of the 15 courses. So in the beginning of the month, I will be giving classes like this, about 3 hours or so. And then, so technically what I gave today is the Lung for ACI 16, class 1 and 2. So now you can do the homework for class 1 and 2 of ACI 16. But Tim, what if I haven't finished ACI 1 yet? I don't have all the homeworks done. Well, that's cool, because over the next month, Anastasia and team are organizing review groups in all languages. So you can go through those homeworks together and finish them. Now, someone asked earlier, I can't remember, I think it was Nicole asked earlier, what if I already have ACI 1 done? You don't have to do it again. Okay. Would you like to do it again? Sure, do it again. I don't care. It's good for you. But you don't have to do it again. The idea of these 15 months is to give you the structure to finish the courses you have yet to finish. Now, if you want a certificate for ACI 16, you need to do the homeworks for ACI 16 as well, you see. So there's kind of two things happening: review and then homework just for this class itself. And if you've already done it, maybe you might want to volunteer and lead a review group. So you can talk to Anastasia about that. Maybe you haven't done it and you want to lead a review group. Great. More people, the merrier. The idea is that we're using this time to review and create the foundation, recreate or solidify the foundation. So then when we're ready in 15 months to move into Diamond Way practice, you will have all the tools because we constantly refer back to them. Diamond Way doesn't make sense without the foundations. It will not work. You can't speed something up if you don't have a strong enough foundation. Like you can't go put a rocket ship into space unless the rocket ship is designed well. It'll just crash, right? So we're building that foundation to be able to get there. Now, I want to repeat over and over again is that these classes are designed for everybody. And that the design of it is to finish the 18 courses. You don't have to be my student to come to this class. You see, like that's not what this is. This is an ACI review open for everyone. But I'd like all of you to start even today because we talked about it. Like who is like to move into Diamond Way, you need a teacher, period. Like there's no way around it. Like you need someone who can guide you. Are they your ultimate teacher? We can have a discussion about this. All right. But you need somebody who can guide you. You need that. And so the idea is that we're planting seeds to meet those people. Who is your special teacher? And it doesn't have to be me. Like you don't have to, just because you're here in this class doesn't mean it's me. You know, I'm just giving you the information. And as I said earlier, like the two stages of Diamond Way is that, you know, eventually they come for you anyway, and you can't stop it. So, you know, the karma will take care of itself anyway. You don't have to worry. And you need to plant the seeds. Okay. So that's coming in 15 months for those of you who want to continue on. And we're going to have some more announcements a little bit later of what that is going to look like and opportunities for us to get to know each other. All right, cool. Yay. Happy Sunday morning, evening. Anastasia is going to give you a little bit more logistical information. Make sure you're part of the Telegram group and get all the things you need. So thank you all for joining. Very, very excited to have you here. And where is she? There she is. We're going to spotlight her. And there you go. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tim, so much for this beautiful overview. It was a wonderful class. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. A short logistic for the next steps. So, as Tim already shared, if you already finished ACI 1, you don't need to you don't have to redo this course again. But if you haven't finished ACI 1 yet, we have dedicated groups that will continue to the December 6th, just before the next class with Tim on the next course of ACI 2. So we will have study groups in all languages that will cover in full in-depth review for ACI 1. And while we're doing this ACI 1 review, you will also work on the ACI 16 homework 1 and 2. So please don't worry, if you're joining ACI 1, you will cover everything. And we also have a second group just dedicated to the ACI 16. to have a general review and work on the homeworks designed just for the ACI 16 class 1 and 2. We will have all the information and all the schedules in our Telegram group in all of your languages. And I would like to highlight, if you're here, our dear group leaders, could you please raise your hand and lower mine? So we could see you, we could celebrate you. Thank you so much for joining and dedicated your time. You might see your friends here. So please don't hesitate, join their groups and study together. We encourage you for each of the study groups, choose one question that you would like to explain and teach others during the study group. So you could plant seeds to your own and others' completion of this track of 18 courses. So our next steps gonna be from November 10th to December 6th. We're gonna have all of the study groups and all the schedules gonna be in Telegram chats. And also, we had this opportunity of a rebroadcasting at 4 p.m. Arizona time. All the schedules and information also is available in the Telegram chat. If you have some emergencies or if you just want to rewatch this class with your friends here together, please don't hesitate joining this rebroadcasting classes. And if you will have any question, please ask them in the chats so we could answer you and support you, anything that you'll need. Thanks for sharing Telegram chat, Grace. Thank you. Any questions that we could cover right now? Yay. Thank you so much for joining. That was awesome. Thank you so much, team.
Yeah, and thank you, everybody. And finally, I want to thank Anastasia for all her hard work in organizing this. She was responding in the middle of her night last night. I think she might have been a little nervous, doing a lot of work. It's a huge karma to be helping make this project go. So anyone who wants to help, we have lots of needs. So please reach out to her. And if you want to help ACI in any way, we have plenty of things to do there, of course, too. But finally, we'll see you next month for the review of ACI 2. Good luck. Have a wonderful month on this. And finally, please say goodbye to each other. And we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and everyone.
Thank
Happy birthday.
A todos, feliz cumpleaños, Tim.
Feliz día a todos.
再见，晚安，早安，拜拜。
谢老师，
谢谢老师，谢谢翻译老师。
Дякую, вчителю.
Дякую,
Дякую. Дякую.
Happy birthday, teacher.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everybody.